If you're an avid watcher of Raised by Wolves, you'll know that the show is anything but predictable. Plus, the show has also had a reputation for taking unexpected and crazy turns in the season finale. Many had thoughts that the season 1 finale would be hard to top, but it seems that the season 2 finale had no trouble going beyond expectations. In this video, we'll be taking a closer look at the Raised by Wolves finale and breaking it all down to explain the ending to you. So what happens to Vril? Vril was introduced at the start of season 2. She perhaps had one of the most fascinating characters in this season. Vril is an android built to resemble the daughter of Decima, played by Kim Engelbrecht. The series makes it quite clear that Vril just wants to be seen as a real girl. Unfortunately, neither Decima nor Mithrakes Vril hung out and considered her as a real girl. As a consequence, Vril kills them all. The faceless android girl then goes to befriend Campion, portrayed by Wynta McGrath, who becomes an advocate for android rights as the series progresses. Unfortunately, in the second to last episode of the season, we see that Vril is destroyed by number 7, Mother's alien serpent baby. Campion finds a nice spot to bury Vril. He even goes on to transcribe some of the text from the real Vril's diary onto the android Vril's grave. Later, when Paul, portrayed by Felix Jamieson, comes across the grave and translates the text, he claims that it's just dopey Earth stuff, though we find that a little difficult to believe. One thing that we do want to highlight is that Vril is destroyed in the second season and not killed. Remember how Mother told Campion that androids can always be rebuilt? Yeah, well, if Vril were to return in season 3, we really won't be surprised. Next, the battle between Mother and number 7. Season 1 ended with quite the shocker as Mother, portrayed by Amanda Collin, gives birth to her 7th child, an enormous space serpent. Season 2 largely involves Mother deciding to take down her necroserpent child, 7. The biggest issue with this is that since 7 is born from Mother's womb, her programming prevents her from harming it. In order to override this aspect of her programming, Mother borrows the hood of the newly refurbished android referred to as Grandmother. Grandmother is the android that Father, portrayed by Abu Bakar Salem, has been working on for the most of season 2. We finally get to see Grandmother, portrayed by Selena Jones, with her striking gray eyes in the season finale. With Grandmother's hood on top, Mother's able to override her programming and confronts 7 in an outer space battle. In line with the weirdness of the show, during the battle, 7 ends up consuming the Su tree, which allows it to puncture the EMF field around the human camp. In addition, wearing Grandmother's hood also brings forth further complications for Mother, which brings us to our next section. What's going to happen to Tempest's baby? One of the wilder and perhaps most confusing storylines involve Tempest, portrayed by Jordan Lafren, and her newborn baby. After Tempest gives birth to her baby by the acid sea, it's taken from her by one of the alien creatures on Kepler 22b. The baby, it seems, is forced inside another womb by the alien and birthed a second birth. Yes, it's a bit weird, but we've already established that this show is weird. Later, when Father and the rest of the family try to track down the baby, Tempest sees the alien breastfeeding the baby. Eventually, Hunter, portrayed by Ethan Hazard, goes to rescue the baby. When they return to Tarantula, they run a health scan on the baby and discover that the child has started growing webbed fingers. Is the baby turning into a human alien mutant? Will it be okay? Guess only time will tell. Is Grandmother evil? Raised by Wolves doesn't really have any villains, but it wouldn't be entirely incorrect if you considered Grandmother as one of the show's antagonistic characters. As Grandmother is an older android model, her perspective on how to look after humanity differs from Mother and Father, both of whom are newer androids in comparison. Even though all 3 androids, Mother, Father, and Grandmother, share the same programming, that is to protect humanity at all costs, Grandmother's code happens to take this command a bit too literally. We get a glimpse into this aspect of her programming when Father and Grandmother are having a conversation about the human settlers of Kepler. During the conversation, Grandmother says, "I've always believed it is happiness and not knowledge that is most important to a human life." Later on, the audience, along with Mother, discovers that Grandmother plans on forcefully devolving humans into a more primitive version of themselves. This would make it easier to keep track of humans and their activities, with their basic needs being the only concern for Grandmother. After seeing what the supercomputer The Trust did to Paul in the first season, we know that androids have the power to transform human DNA to an extent. As the show progresses, we see a similar process being tried on the children as Campion complains about the dry skin on his hands. The humans assume that the dry skin is due to exposure of harsh weather, a consequence of the EMF field breaking down. However, we discover that it's due to the primitive video game that Grandmother had them play. As the colonists grow tired of playing Necro Slayer, they seem more eager to play Grandmother's new primitive game. To add to the matter, it seems that Mother is unable to help the humans as Grandmother has her locked away in a virtual reality of sorts. What is the Entity? Now, at various points in the final episode, Mother, Father, and Marcus, portrayed by Travis Fimmel, refer to the unknown force called the Entity. Many fans are now wondering what exactly is the Entity. It seems that as of now, nobody really knows what exactly it is, but here's what we do know. You may have noticed that something weird has been happening on Kepler-22b for a while now. Colonists and androids alike have been getting radical messages from Sol, their religious god, in the form of visions and voices. We've seen that oftentimes these divine inspirations aren't always a bad thing. For instance, Sue's divine inspiration allows her to save Paul. Similarly, Marcus's divine inspiration brings him an array of devoted followers. However, the biggest issue with these voices and visions is that they come with severe consequences. For instance, Sue turns into a tree, while Marcus loses everything. Even Mother, it seems, gets tricked into giving birth to the space serpent Seven. Rather than attributing all this chaos to Sol, it seems like the atheistic Mother thinks that the unknown entity is the cause of the chaos. It seems that she isn't alone in thinking so. Marcus also shares this belief with Mother. The entity's plans seem very complicated and are a mystery for the most part. It also seems that all the chaos is connected in some form or the other. For instance, it wasn't enough for Seven to be born or for Sue to turn into a tree. No, Seven had to eat the Sue tree in order to break the EMF field. It all seems very complicated so far, but we're hoping the next season will reveal more of the truth to uncomplicate matters. What's up with Marcus's messianic moment? Speaking of divine entities, remember when Marcus had accepted that Sol had stopped giving him divine visions in the initial part of the show? Well, it seems that the Mithraic leader was a little too quick to judge the divine plan. It seems that the season finale did hold some miracles for Marcus. Lucius, a fellow follower of the Mithraic mysteries, portrayed by Mateus Varela, breaks into an atheist camp halfway through Happiness to steal the Punisher's helmet, which had been used to decapitate and torture prisoners. When Marcus heads inside a hole in the ground in search of the entity, he gets attacked by Lucius, who shoots the leader in the stomach. We find out that Lucius had been waiting for Marcus as he had received a divine message from Sol. It seems that Lucius has been tasked to kill Marcus in a cruel manner. He puts the Punisher's helmet on Marcus's head and hangs him upside down from a tree in a reverse crucifix pose. When Lucius goes to remove Marcus's body, he does not find it there. In the final moments of the season, we see a semi-conscious Marcus floating in midair like an upside-down Christ. We don't know about you, but the whole scene definitely gave us goosebumps. It seems that Marcus has once again turned into a messianic figure of sorts. How does this connect to the larger picture? Is this the work of the entity, or is this Sol's work? It seems that Season 3 is the only way to know more about where the series is headed. Raised by Wolves Season 2 has left us with many unanswered questions. We've tried to explain the ending as best we can, but let us know if we've missed out on something. We'd also love to hear about some of your theories regarding the Season 2 finale, so be sure to drop a comment down below.